What's up on a hump day Wednesday? Coop, how you doing, sir?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing
Doing
great,
very
man. We got some new music on a Wednesday, and I love our Wednesday show, by the way. I love breaking it up in the middle of the day and hump day, et cetera, et cetera. But we got a new J. Cole record.
Yeah, we actually got a new record today. Yeah.
How'd you feel about it, or how did you hear about it? Let me ask you that.
I told you that the hip hop sports group that I'm in, that my man Kendrick is started. He actually is the one that posted it. So when I woke up this morning and I pulled up the group and he had the song posted.
Okay. Well, we're gonna cover a couple of things today, man. Before we get into the whole J. Cole Heaven EP reaction, we're gonna cover that, the J. Cole song that is. We're gonna cover what Ebro said about Eminem not doing well on the verses, and if anybody agrees with that. And we're also going to kind of switch gears a little bit. It's a show concept that I came to Coop about a couple of months back, man. I'm a super Michael Jackson fan. He's a super Prince fan. And, Thriller and Purple Rain, very debatable which is the better album. And I figured we could go track for track and talk
Yeah.
about it. I know it's not some hip hop shit, but sometimes we want to switch gears a little bit. And both albums are 9 songs. Both albums are constructed very similarly. So I think it'll make a really great discussion, especially when people are, kind of throwing Michael Jackson's name out there like Drake somehow is bigger than my I can't even dignify that. I'll tell you this, Coop. When I hear people talk about such and then Michael Jackson, I will say this respectfully. The only person I will ever dignify a comparison with Michael Jackson is Prince. And no one else. There's no other discussions to have. And so yeah, I figured that, this would be a perfect time to do it. Because the Drake and Michael Jackson comparison is bogus as shit. But we'll get into that. But what did you think about J. Cole's Heaven EP reaction?
I was about to say,
Yeah.
it's still some hip hop stuff to cover. So because we still have Cole to cover and M to
Right.
cover and the Drake side of this Michael Jackson thing to cover,
Right,
or
right.
maybe rationale or reasoning or explaining would be the better word. But as far as the Cole record, I mean, it was dope and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was good, man.
I thought it was dope.
I thought it was cool too. I hope we got some more J. Cole music coming. But you brought up a good point to me when we were talking about it earlier when you text me like, what's the point of this? You got some music on the way or
Yeah, I mean that was my only thing. I mean, like I enjoyed it, and I was like, man, I was like, like this would have been good for the album. I mean, obviously over a different track of
right?
his own, but I mean, I was just like, the purpose. I mean, does he have something else coming? Was I believe how I phrased it after I said that, in terms of like, what does this mean, or where is he going with this? Is there something else coming? Because I mean, it's not uncommon now, even for major artists to release a couple of projects within a year. You know what I mean?
Of
Like that's been
course.
going on for a while now, so
The pressure
that's
is
not
on when
above
it comes to
realm.
that. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people are doing that and the major artists are being pulled into that as well, with the exception of Kendrick.
Well, you know what? No, if that's what he's doing, I actually like that for him
Mm-hmm.
because also with the bars, and we can get to that in a second. Like
Right.
he obviously is paying attention to the current climate of what's going on.
Right.
You know,
And speaking of what we like for him and, a project, and you said something about, the beat being his own, I would actually like to hear Cole do a project or a mixtape or whatever people want to call it, where he's rhyming over other people's stuff.
well, when I mean like his own, I don't necessarily mean even necessarily his own beat, but we all know that beat. You know, what I mean, it's not
No, no, I
his.
know what you
Yeah,
mean. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But to clarify, but yeah, I mean, if he were to jump on some mixtape shit, like you remember when Jay did the S. Dot Carter mixtape or something like that, like would we like to hear like Cole jump on, a Drake beat here, maybe Flavor in Your Ear here, maybe a Shook Ones here, or what I'm saying, like whatever, and make a whole little project about it. Like imagine how crazy people would go hearing that, because I think, and we're gonna get into his quote in a second. I think one of his, how do I say it? I think one of the big drawbacks that people have about Cole with his contemporaries is production. Is that accurate?
I guess that could be a fair assessment. Yeah.
Because we
I mean, I
say,
mean,
okay, he didn't
I
make
mean,
the albums that
I mean,
Kendrick made, right? Go ahead.
in terms of contemporaries, I'm assuming you're referencing Drake and Kendrick the way he did. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, let's get into the quote and then probably clarify this a little bit more. He said, see, let me move this over a little bit. He said, some people say that I'm running third. They
Yeah.
threw the bronze at me behind Drake and Dot. Yeah, them niggas are superstars to me. Maybe deep down, I'm afraid of luminacy. So when you see me on the red carpet, I'm moving awkwardly.
What?
What do you think about that? What do you think he means by that? Do you think he's
I mean, it's a very self-effacing and like I guess honest moment. You're probably not going to get that moment from the other two artists that he referenced. You know what I'm saying?
he says some
But
people say I'm running third. They threw the bronze at me. I don't think he's really owning up to, him being quote unquote third, but he knows that that conversation is out there.
yeah, that's what I mean when I said he's paying attention. He knows that convo is out there. Probably been listening to you talk about him.
I love J. Cole, man. Got nothing but good things to say.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. But yeah, but I mean, so I think, and you brought this up behind the scenes. He and Wale are alike, even though I think Cole is better. I prefer Cole to Wale. They're both seem to be in the same boat in this one regard, that they both do feel like they're not rated properly. And, when you're not feeling rated properly, you have to go to the projects that people have made. And even though I think Cole is a better rapper and MC than Drake, Drake has made better projects overall in all objectivity and honesty. With Kendrick, it's not a conversation.
Well, see, Drake has done the numbers too, where it's like, even if you could say, okay, Drake's not my cup of tea, you can always revert to the numbers, right?
But it's not even
Yeah.
about necessarily the numbers. That's what I'm saying. No, you can go to Drake's and Cole's catalog, and Drake has the better catalog of songs and albums, wouldn't you say, Mike?
I think so, yeah. I mean, just being fair altogether, I think you would have to say so.
And
Like
I
you
prefer
said,
Cole. It's just an honest assessment of the situation.
have we seen, artists care this much about where they're placed? Like, I'm trying to think, like, obviously, let's say the 90s, 80s, that really wasn't too much of a deal. But I guess I go back to a time where T.I. and Lil Wayne were fighting to plead their case to be the best rapper alive, king of the South, and all of that. And even when they were proclaiming these things, for people who thought otherwise, I don't think they verbalized, how they felt about it. You know what I'm saying? It was never what, like you were saying, like what we're hearing from like Wale and Cole, where people feel a way about not being mentioned or being mentioned in a certain place and all of that. Do you feel like we've seen anything like this before?
I think social media has a lot to do with that. In all honesty, Mike, because I think the competitive nature. I told you, this is something built out of like angst and competitive nature, and so this is really just the nature of the competitiveness now in terms of how it gets portrayed to us in the media, those who us who follow it and contribute like we do now.
Yeah.
So a lot of it has to do with the level of exposure and how quickly like the things that you say and feel and think get out to the masses. It's like, how about this? It's like when like when Biggie's making like Kick in the Door, Mike, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like if he would have lived, you wouldn't have heard a response from Nas until like the following year. You
Right.
feel what I'm saying? When Nas dropped his album. And so like it just happens so fast now, and that's what I mean. Like the pressure is different.
The
now.
pace was slower, and I'm gonna reference an artist that I know J. Cole's very influenced by. He's verbalized this before. Is Cannabis, man? When Cannabis used to get on these posse cuts, there were discussions at that point, and it was a real initiative to actually show out the next MC. I think Big Pun was big on doing that too. But Cannabis was the guy where it was like, look, I'm getting on this track to destroy you. Like you said, the competitive nature. And there were conversations about who had the best verse, who did this, that. I mean, that's where the whole LL thing started with Cannabis and the fact that Cannabis jumped on 4 3 2 1 and tried to spit a 24 bar verse and talking about the mic on the arm and things of that nature. So I mean, yeah, you're right. I think there has always been a concern with where people were placed. I could take it back to LL. I think LL was one of the first to really feel like he was slighted, and maybe that's where, well, not maybe, that's where the whole GOAT album title came from, and the whole GOAT terminology came from, because LL was letting it be known like, yo, y'all talking about Tupac, Biggie, I'm the greatest of all time. I think LL might have been the first person feeling slighted about where he's placed, and he should, because he's still slighted.
Hmm. All of those things kind of. So, do you think that being slighted is part of this conversation in terms of like the competitive nature or where it comes from? Is that what you're saying?
I think so. I think that J. Cole wouldn't mention that if he didn't feel slighted. And the way he worded
Okay.
it too, he
Oh,
said,
I get what you're saying. No,
some
no, I get what you're
people,
saying.
some people say that I'm running in third. They threw the bronze at me. Who is they?
Hmm.
You know?
Right.
So,
We we be them, man.
listen, man, like you said, track for track, it would be very tough to argue that J. Cole's career musically supersedes what Drake has done. Clearly, I feel like J. Cole's the better MC of the two. That's not
Yeah.
even a question. And album for album, it's very tough to say that his catalog supersedes what Kendrick's done with Section 80, Good Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly, Damn, even Overly Dedicated, if we want to go there. So, I mean, it's just what it is. I don't think
Yeah.
there's anything to get. If anything,
So
you
I
use
don't.
that as motivation, right?
Right. So I think that first of all, the competitive nature is just like, part of the culture, like from Busy B and Cool Mo D
Mm-hmm.
on to Cool Mo D and LL Cool J, and on down the line. Like Mike, I can remember, you know what, the first, and we brought up this song last week, Mike. You know what song? Like I actually first like had an argument about like who had the better verse on was actually How High with Method Man and Redman, because from our time there weren't two great MCs from separate camps that had got together and done a back and forth on a song like that. It was special. So the
Yeah.
competitive nature, I mean, Big Daddy Kane and Cool G Rap on the Symphony, Mike, like the competitive nature of this is like kind of always been there. It's part of it. And so when he's saying that, that's why I'm saying, well, like, are you addressing this subject matter like on this song on a riff? Are you going in the album mode? Or are you trying to say I'm about to change all of that with this next project? Like that's why I was saying like where is it going and what is it doing? If it's just a dope record, then I guess it's just a dope record. But it's like
Yeah. Yeah, because you're right. It's always been approached a little bit different, where it's like if Cannabis felt slighted, he was actually going to take it out on the mic or take it out on whoever was on the track with him. I mean, we've seen that. Same thing with somebody like Method Man. Like I do remember. You know what? I feel like there was an era where Method Man felt a little slighted too, with his contemporaries and what they were putting out and who he was and who he knew he was as an MC, and the fact that critics were very critical of his solo efforts. Fuck a
you
rap
know what,
critic,
Mike?
they talk about it while I live it. You know what I mean?
You know, Cal has aged pretty well, Mike.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah.
Listen, I like some things on Judgment Day. I think that
Think on Judgment Day too.
in
Yeah.
retrospect, though, while
Not
it's
all.
right, but while it's happening, and your guys just put out "Only Built for Cuban Links," and you guys just put out Iron
Liquid
Man, and you
Wars,
guys just put out Liquid Swords. It's like you're Method Man,
the
right?
36 Chambers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it was. It wasn't,
It
and
was because that's what I mean when you actually isolate to Cal. That's what I mean when I mean it's aged well. Because now we can reflect back and look at it more
hmm
just like a Method Man solo album than like the lead off solo artist from Wu-Tang. You know what I mean? We can look at it differently, and because we can look at it differently, it holds up pretty well standing on its own. It's just like literally, Mike, the four projects
yeah,
followed it are like top 50, 60, 70 rap albums like
yeah. So
ever.
while it's happening, you're feeling like
Before.
Method Man's underachieving. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
It's like,
Yeah,
no, that project is dope. That's some of the best rap shit you're ever about to hear in your life. And that's held up too, Mike.
yeah.
Like all those first projects from ODB and Ray and Jizza and Ghost, all of that is still classic stuff.
And and that's one of the things with J. Cole too. Like the more I listen to him, and even listening to the song today, I'm like, what exactly do I expect of J. Cole? And I felt like that even with the Method Man thing too. It's like, what did we expect for Method Man to be so disappointed about? Like, what did we expect from Cannabis to say that we were so disappointed about the debut? You know what I mean? Like,
No,
it's not really clear cut.
no. We're not gonna do that to Cole though. Like
No, no, no.
Cannabis.
I feel you, but it's like the expectations. Listen, let's keep it real. The expectations for Cole have been basically what Kendrick's made, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I
more or
want to tell you
less.
something too, man. I was listening to Abstract Radio the other day. It was a couple of episodes that I missed. Q-Tip did a Big Daddy Kane mix. Shit was crazy. And I'm gonna take back what if I've ever said like I didn't want to see Big Daddy Kane in the verses. Big Daddy Kane could really hold down the verses, man. I mean, Q-Tip went an hour, hour and a half strong of just nothing but Big Daddy Kane records, and it was strong.
Q-Tip.
No, but it's Kane too. Like you got to have records to
I
pull
mean, like
from.
Q-Tip, like no, like
Yeah,
you know,
he was
yeah.
pulling up freestyles. He was pulling up
That's
all
what I
kind of
mean. I
shit.
bet he was. Yeah, I
Yeah,
bet he was pulling up a lot of shit, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I was like, yo, I mean, I know I was looking in our comment section when we were talking about the Dream verses, and people said, Rakim and Kane. I would like to see it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's a versus that could actually go down. I personally think it would go Rakim's way, but I think it would be very great, especially when you factor in the level of performer that Big Daddy Kane is.
That's what I was about to
You know
say.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And it's like, I want to see it straight
No,
up. So,
no. If you're with it, you know what I mean. Like, yeah,
but
I'd
but
like
yeah,
to see it.
but I brought up Kane to say I think that's what Cole suffers from is the fact that he's kind of in the shadow of this comparison that he has with Kendrick. Similar to the whole Kane and Rakim thing.
See, but that's where that's not. In all fairness to Cole, that's not fair to Kane because
hmm
even I mean, Rakim at his peak when Kane came out with Half Steppin' in his first album, no, there was a contingency of people of a big enough proportion that felt like Kane was a better MC or preferred Kane, even if it was like 1A to 1B. And so I don't think Cole's ever been considered like 1B the way Kane was. Kane was
A
like,
lot of people think Cole's better than Kendrick. A lot of people do.
I didn't say that. Who said that?
I mean, we polled people on According to Hip Hop, and there are a lot of people who feel like Cole is better than Kendrick. One thing I will say, Cole has over Kendrick if you want to talk about voice, and I think that Kendrick's voice throws a lot of people off. Kendrick's voice is an acquired taste,
Okay.
but I think that people could really just listen to Cole no matter what they're doing. Kind of like what you said about To Pimp a Butterfly. You have to be in a certain mode to
Yeah.
listen to Kendrick's music.
Yeah. Cole comes on and he's clear and he's crisp. Yeah.
Yeah, he's more of an everyday listen. So
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
people do consider him the better MC of the two.
No.
Respectfully to
No,
Kendrick,
no,
but he
no.
doesn't do all the little, lyrical tricks and acrobatics and all the voice shit that Kendrick does, and some people don't need all that in their hip hop.
Right. You know what I will say too, even when you said like with the Cole Kendrick thing that you put up on according to hip hop, what I will tell you too is that I think that could be something to do with our demographic in terms of where we have our followings as well. You know,
That's possible. I mean, we're big on the West
it could be
Coast.
demographically driven. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm pretty certain that there's a podcast that's going on on the West Coast where one of the guys, I mean, because I'm from North Carolina, like, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm pretty certain that on the West Coast, Kendrick is probably winning that the same way he would probably be, Cole would be winning here with us being based in Atlanta and closer to his home base of North Carolina. So that's just one of those things that, like, logistically to me makes sense. You feel me?
Right. I think, speaking about competitiveness, and we'll go on to the next topic. I think one of the big drivers in, who killed who on the track and all that stuff kind of started with that whole Renegade thing. And when Nas highlighted that Eminem showed up Jay-Z on Renegade and actually put it on record.
You know that. You know what? You want to know what? That's valid because that was talked about in the context of battle, as in to kind of lessen his MC skills.
Right.
You know,